I like taking notes, but writing can be slow. For example, when you're brainstorming an idea, you want to be able to register your thoughts as they appear without having to stop to write it down. That's why a lot of writers record their thoughts when they're brainstorming, because they want to avoid that delay that could potentially kill the idea. A delay that doesn't take into account the free flow dynamics of thinking itself. But even when you record your thoughts, you still have to go back to that audio file and listen to it. So you potentially have to go through hours and hours of useless words and rambling thoughts just to find that one idea you were looking for. Since writing is part of my daily routine, I decided to take some time and think about how I could fix this issue of thought delay. My idea is simple. I'm going to write an app that allows me to automatically transcribe and summarize my thoughts as captured in audio files, so as I can review them later and just go straight into the main ideas and avoid having to parse through potentially hours and hours of useless information. So to write this app, we're going to need the Python programming language, the PyAudio and Wave packages to handle the recordings from the microphone in our computer. We're going to need Whisper from OpenAI, which is a state-of-the-art speech-to-text model that's going to handle the transcription of our recordings. We're going to use GPT3, the large language model also released by OpenAI, which will allow us to do text summarization on the transcriptions of those recordings. So let's get started. Writing our app. To start things off, let's import the packages. If you want to get the setup installation for this project, check out my Medium article on this topic. The link is in the description. And also the link for the GitHub repository with all the source code for this project is also in the description. So to start things off, we're going to need a few packages. We're going to import the Whisper package for speech to text, the OpenAI package that will allow us to access the GPT3 model for text summarization, the PyAudio package to handle recording and writing an audio file, the Wave package which is actually what handles the writing the audio file. PyAudio is for the microphone stuff, and then OS for doing file management in Python. So I already loaded this cell into the perfect. Now we're going to set up our API key from an OpenAI. If you don't have an API key, you can just go to OpenAI and get your API key by signing up. And my API key, for security reasons, is exported as an environment variable in my computer, so that it's not available in the script when I put this on GitHub, etc. And yours should be as well. So you do this. Now we're going to set up our Whisper model and we're going to load it. I already loaded this model. And this is what's going to be doing the transcription of our audio file. Now we're going to set up a few variables for the PyAudio part, where we, for recording with the microphone, we're going to need a few things like the channels, the format, the rate, which is the number of samples collected per second in the audio. I'm doing fairly high audio quality resolution. The chunk and the path for the temporary audio file path. I'm also going to need the number of iterations required to collect, let's say 5 seconds of audio. And now I guess that is all. And now we can start writing our app. So we're gonna be there's one thing missing here. Perfect. Okay, so let's add we're gonna set up. So I'm just gonna copy these lines. So what we're gonna need is we're gonna instantiate the PyAudio class, and now we're gonna start the stream. I'm just gonna copy because I already have this done in my write, so I'm just kind of like gradually copying it here so that's easier to understand. So I'm setting up the stream for recording the audio. Then I create a list called frames. I do a loop over the over a range of 0 all the way up to the rate divided by the chunk multiplied by the number that represents, how many iterations you need for X number of seconds. And when I do this loop, at each time, I will read a chunk of audio and append that to my frames list. Finally, when it's done doing this, so let's do that for now. So for now, this is gonna read 5 seconds of audio. Let's see if this works. So hello, my name is Lucas and I'm recording my thoughts about writing. Great. Now that I stopped, I should run this, which is to terminate the recording. Actually, that should go on top as well. So just 1 second, we're gonna have this work up there. I think that looks better, yeah. And now we're gonna do the part of writing down our audio file. So for that, we're gonna have to use the wave package. So we're gonna say wf is equal to wave.open. And then we're gonna write it to the temporary audio file path that we had set up in the beginning. And then we're gonna set up a few things. I'm just gonna copy these, which is the channel, sample width, frame rate, etc. And I'm gonna replace this with a print, perfect. And this is the temporary audio file path. And now we are done. So let's see. Perfect. Perfect. So that actually worked perfectly. And now before we go into the transcription part, which is right here, let's record something a little bit more elaborate so that you guys can get the idea of what would it be a thought summarization app, right? So I'm gonna do a 10 seconds recording of me thinking about an idea for an article. Let's say this article, thought summarization. Why are thoughts important? So let's run this again. And now I'm gonna run and I'm gonna, elaborate on why recording and summarizing your thoughts is important. So recording and summarizing your thoughts is extremely important because it allows you to register your ideas as they appear, and that's important. Maybe 10 seconds is too quick. So let's do 20 seconds. I think 20 seconds is a little bit better. So let's do that again. And okay, so we ran this and now let's do that again. So recording and summarizing your thoughts is important because it allows you to have a timeline of your ideas in the evolution of your systems for thinking about things in general. And that's relevant because in the future you might want to know what you thought about stuff. Okay, all right, that wasn't great, but it is what it is. So I'm gonna write the audio file. I'm gonna check that the audio file is doing well. Perfect, it's working just right. So what we can do now is we're gonna use the model we instantiated in the beginning, the whisper model, and we're gonna hit the transcribe function to transcribe this audio. And after we've done that, we're gonna access the output of that transcription with the text key inside this result object, which I'm pretty sure is a dictionary. And then we're gonna write that to the terminal. So let's see, we're doing the transcription, takes a few seconds, and then perfect. Recording, summarizing thoughts is important because it allows you to have a timeline of your ideas and the evolution of your systems for thinking about things. That's relevant because in the future you might want to know what you thought about stuff. Yeah. It's not exactly a super elaborate idea, but it was just for illustrating the point of how you can do that. Okay, perfect. Finally, what we're gonna do is we're gonna set up a prompt for our text summarization part. Now, if you don't know what a prompt is, look up prompt engineering. And with ChatGPT and models like that, there's a lot of attention being geared towards prompt engineering right now because it's super interesting. And the idea basically is how you talk to a large language model to get the best possible output. So we're gonna say, look, I want you to summarize this text, and then I'm gonna feed in the string of my recording, my transcription, which is right here. Yeah. And so I'm gonna say this. And then I'm gonna set up my access to the OpenAI API. So I just say, OpenAI, and then I access the Text DaVinci 003 model, which I'm pretty sure is the best model available. I think it's the ChatGPT. It's not ChatGPT, sorry, it's GPT-3. So yeah, for those of you who think GPT-3 and ChatGPT is exactly the same, it's not exactly the same. Because this model is actually not going to be as great, but ChatGPT has an API coming soon, which is what I've heard. So wait for that. And now we're going to get the response. Okay, so now I sent the prompt and I can access the actual text summarizing that initial recording here. All right, so in this case, the summary is a little bit kind of like exactly the same as my recording. Not a big fan of that, but probably because since it was like a 20 seconds recording, it didn't have enough depth to actually have something to summarize. So let's try it again. This time I'm gonna give 30 seconds. I'm gonna change the name of this thing. It's not number, it's thought delay. That's what I like calling this thing, because it's the delay. It's like how long you're gonna record yourself for. That's in the end, that's what this thing is doing. That's what this variable is doing. It's like the delay in seconds. The delay, it's not the delay, it's the how long your recording lasts. I think I just gave it a complicated name. And now I'm gonna run this again, and let's see, what should I think about? Actually, there is one thing that, it's a good idea. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read something from Ralph Waldo Emerson, which is actually, that's even better. Let's do something improvised. Hopefully I can quickly read this in 30 seconds. So I'm reading a book called Self-Reliance and Other Essays by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And there's a passage that I really like. So why not record me saying that passage and then getting a summary from GPT-3. I think that's pretty fun. Let's give it 35 seconds so that I have enough time to say all the stuff that's in the paragraph. So I'm reading page 58 from this book, Self-Reliance and Other Essays. By doing his work, he makes the need felt which he can supply, and creates the taste by which he is enjoyed. By doing his own work, he unfolds himself. It is the vice of our public speaking that it has not abandonment. Somewhere, not only every orator, but every man should let out all the length of all the reins, should find or make a frank and hearty expression of what force and meaning is in him. The common experience is that the man fits himself as well as he can do to the customary details of that work or trade he falls into, and tends it as a dog turns a spit. All right, I couldn't read all the stuff because 35 seconds wasn't enough, but I think it had enough meat so that we can get a decent summary out of it. So let's now, again, rewrite down our audio file. We get our transcription. This time it's going to be a bit bigger because we're talking about 35 seconds, but look at that, super quick. And this is pretty good. Makes the neat file which gets supplied, creates the text by which is enjoyed. By doing his own work, he unfolds himself. It is the vice of our public. So now I'm going to say, summarize this. Let's change the prompt just because. Summarize this passage by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And now I access the API, I ask for a summary, and I then print that summary to the terminal. And look at that. The summary from GPT-3 was, Ralph Waldo Emerson encourages everyone to embrace their work and express themselves fully. He believes that when people do their own work and let out all the reins, they're able to unfold themselves and make their needs felt. All right, so GPT-3 does make a lot of usage of the same type of vocabulary in the original text. He argues that it's a vice to not have abandonment in public speaking and that everyone should find a way to express their force and meaning. But it's a pretty good summary, I'd say. It is a bit long, but I think that these are the kind of things that we kind of have to tweak in the process, right? We would start with something, 35 seconds, then we're gonna do a 1 minute and 2 minutes, and then we see what is the right amount of time that you should record yourself thinking about something, so that's worth it to get a summary from that. But besides doing this, what I would like to do as well is to give the same text to ChatGPT, since we're here, right? Why not? So I'm gonna give ChatGPT the same output of the transcription just to see what ChatGPT comes up with. And I'm gonna say the same thing I said to the API. So I'm gonna say summarize this passage by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And let's see what we get from ChatGPT. And then he says, Emerson argues that a person should do their work to the best of their abilities, allows them to express themselves and create a need for their work to be enjoyed. Believes that people should be honest and express their full potential rather than being limited by societal norms. This is true not just for public speaking, but for everyone in their chosen trade or work. Now, much better. It's a much better summary. And it's interesting that it makes use of words and vocabulary that wasn't necessarily present in the original text, which I really like. And yeah, it pretty much captures the essence of that passage. So I would say that both work, they're both, meaningful. And ChatGPT has an API coming soon, so that's gonna be great. So let's just wrap everything up into an app. So I've already done that. So instead of just writing down, which I'm just gonna show you the app already written, and we're gonna run it and just try to, perhaps I'll read the second passage, or I'll just feed that same temporary WAV file. Okay, so this is the app. And the app has all the stuff that we had in the notebook, but just transformed and refactored for Streamlit. So to showcase that, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna run this. I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna say Streamlit run thought summarization app.py. Hopefully there's not a lot of huge mistakes in this thing. I hope there's no big mistakes, but let's see. Thought summarization app. Yeah, I'm not exactly super creative, but okay, so I have the number input. This might not be the best way to get numbers into this thing, but whatever. So I'll set the rate here. So all the numbers that we were setting before in the notebook cell, we're setting up now in Streamlit. And now chunk and the thought delay, I think I'm gonna put like 45 seconds. And perfect. Okay. I could just hit, I have two buttons, one for recording the audio and one for transcribing or summarizing the audio. Now, the way that it is right now, it does load a file that I don't load, I don't say transcribe, summarize this file, just give it a path. And it probably should do better. Yeah, on the next iteration of this app, I'll change this up so that, you know, I have more control over like record, transcribe this audio, that audio. I think I was just, I don't know why I didn't put this thing here, but okay. So let's say, okay, so temporary file under path. So it's gonna, yeah, perfect. Okay, so let's work through the parts of the app. Just like in Notebook, we have the same dependencies. We set up our API key, set up a title for the app, right? I could change this if I hit on Streamlit. Let's see, where is rerun? So if I change something here like Thought Summarization app by Lucas, and I say, oh, sorry, but by Lucas, and I hit this, is gonna ask on the Streamlit app, okay, so you wanna rerun this, always rerun. And I hit always rerun, and I can get changes in that thing really quickly. So now if I say something like, if I change it back, it will automatically put that thing into Streamlit, because Streamlit has this caching system that's pretty cool. Okay, perfect. Now I'm loading the model just like I did before, and then it says, okay, Whisper model loaded. I am, yeah. Before I was loading from a file path, but this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna set up the audio file directly from the Streamlit file uploader, because why not? Yes, why not? So here's what we're gonna do. Yeah, temporary file audio path. But when I hit transcribe, I'm gonna say, yeah, exactly. And if audio file is not none, and then you can do the button and then the summarization bit, which I'm doing, yeah, I am doing all at the same time. Okay, perfect. So now I change this app to be like this, check it out. And I'm just gonna give the audio file, yeah, to this thing, yeah. Let's see if that works. Okay, so I made one change, because before I was doing from an audio file path and live on YouTube, not really live, but whatever, right now, I changed that to the file uploader, because I want to be able to, you know, browse the file, find the WAV file, and then give it to transcribe. So I'm going to record the audio. And the second thing I want to do as well, yeah, I want to be able to, when I record the audio, I want to save it according to a name. So temporary audio file path, instead of doing this, it's going to be a st.sidebar text input. Yeah, text input. Let's see if that works. Let's see if that works. Yeah, it looks like it works. Yeah, and then I'm gonna say audio file name. Perfect, and I can put here this, and now I'm gonna record an audio of like X amount of seconds. And let's say I'm gonna, you know, read the same passage by Emerson. Maybe I'll try to read the entire paragraph, and I'll see if my transcription works, okay? So let's see. Okay, perfect. By doing his work, he makes the need felt which he can supply, and creates the taste by which he is enjoyed. By doing his own work, he unfolds himself. It is the vice of our public speaking that it has not abandonment. Somewhere not only every orator, but every man should let out all the length of all the reins, should find or make a frank and hearty expression of what force and meaning is in him. The common experience is that the man fits himself as well as he can do to the customary details of that work or trade he falls into, and tends it as a dog turns a spit. Then is he a part of the machine he moves, the man is lost. until he can manage to communicate himself to others in his full stature and proportion. He does not yet find his vocation. Okay, so finish reading the... I read really slow. I'm very sorry about that. But okay, now we have a that looks audio file written at output.wave. That looks good. I can now browse that file and let's see if I can find it. Thoughts Summarization app. Nope. Thoughts Summarization app should be written at output.wave. Oh yeah, it's right here. And now I load it. Okay, and now I'm gonna transcribe and summarize that audio. Hopefully this will work. Nope, because I got an uploaded file. Fair enough. Okay, so if that didn't work, let's see if I just hit stream audio file. I'm not sure that Streamlit allows this, but let's see. So I'm gonna say transcribe and summarize based on the file that I inputted. Let's see. Now I get a fail to load audio error. Yeah, that's annoying. That's fine. That's fine. So we'll go back to just without the audio file, and then I'll look into how to integrate that, and maybe that will be something that I do in the future. So now I can just go back to this. Yeah. And now this is just going to be temporary audio file path. Yeah, perfect. So now we have the output.wave file recorded, so I can just hit transcribe and summarize, and let's see what happens. Perfect. It's transcribing the audio. So this is the original text, and now the final summary. There we go. Perfect. How a man should do his work, express himself fully to be successful. He should be able to communicate himself to others. He should not be lost in the machine, but instead find a way to stand out and be noticed. Perfect. That's our summary for that little chunk of a thought. This was a passage from a book. And so let's review just the app itself, so that this little, let's say, kind of like little mistake in the middle didn't throw you off. So just as before we were doing, so we import the packages, we set up the API key, set up a title for the app, we load the Whisper model, we then write, Whisper model loaded, we set up a bunch of number inputs, like channel, format, rate, chunk, all of it for recording stuff with PyAudio. And then we have a couple of buttons. We have one for recording and audio, and then one for transcribing and summarizing. The transcription and summarization are done on top of a file name that should be placed here. So when we record the audio, it will get the file path that's in this text selection. And then same thing when we transcribe and summarize, it's going to get it's going to search for a file that's described in this text selection, and then it will show you the original text and then the summary. And in the future, I want to extend this a little bit. I was thinking about how to use maybe embeddings in search, so that if you had a database of like little thought summaries, you could potentially do in context search of those texts. So that could be interesting. And pretty much, I think this could be a cool way to complement stuff like brainstorming. Maybe if you had in your phone, like when you record your thoughts and ideas and stuff, and you could just like run these models through your audio files and just get the gist and get the main core things on each audio. I think that could be really interesting. And also there's something to say about this idea of like when the audio file is not very long. So it's like a few minutes, because if it's too long, maybe when you record an audio, it's not going to be as rich as it could be, you know, because if it's like a 2-hour recording, there's a bunch of ideas there, right? And how is the model going to know which idea you want? I mean, sure, you can maybe like chunk, cut that audio into 30-second pieces and stuff. But when you do that, that's a problem in text as well. You could be cutting something that's meaningful. So I like this idea of like little chunks of audio files. And that's it. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you next time. Cheers.